Hello, everybody. I'm Peter the Booklover, and this is Halls of Eight. This is where I talk about 8 new books to my collection. Let's talk about them. Hello, everybody. I'm Peter the Booklover. I like to read books and I like to collect books, and these are 8 new arrivals in my collection. And these are all basically children's books, and although at the same time I really enjoy children's books a lot, sometimes they're better than the books for adults. But yeah, these are all pretty cool books. I like these books, so I'm going to enjoy talking about them. But before I get into the books, I want to thank everybody for being here. You're really wonderful for giving me your time. If you're new here, thank you for coming by. And if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. So let's just get into this. Okay, the first book that I'm going to talk about is written by Lynn Reed Banks. Lynn Reed Banks, maybe? And this is The Indian and the Cupboard. Now, some people today might say that this is the Native American in the cupboard. But this is a book called The Indian in the Cupboard. And this is about an action figure that comes to life and a boy, how he deals with this. Now, this is actually a movie that I haven't seen yet, but I wouldn't mind seeing this movie. And this looks like a pretty interesting story. Maybe one day I'll get a chance to watch the movie. I've seen this a whole bunch of times, and I just didn't want to get this before, but then I said to myself, you know what? Let's check it out. So I decided to give this a shot. The Indian in the Cupboard. Okay, the next book that I'm going to talk about is a book by Beverly Cleary. And this is Ramona's World. And this is an author that I've read before. Beverly Cleary actually wrote a book called The Mouse and the Motorcycle, and I really loved that book. I heard somebody read it to me when I was a child, and I fell in love with it, and I read it as an adult, and I still love the book. It's a very entertaining book about a mouse that gets a motorcycle, and he powers it by going, which is really cool. And I've read a couple other books by this lady, and she's a fantastic author. She's got wonderful imagination, and I'm looking forward to reading this book. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Mrs. Pettigreen's Home for Peculiar Children. And this is written by Ransom Riggs. And this just looks interesting to me. There's a movie about this that I plan on seeing after reading this book. And this looks pretty interesting. If you might not be able to see that, but this girl is floating. You can see that she's got a stano, and she has the levitation skills, which is pretty cool. And I don't know much about this, but this looks pretty interesting, and I want to check this out. Okay, the next book that I'm going to talk about is a book written by Michael Bond. And this is also illustrated by Peggy Fortnum, and this is A Bear Called Pennington. And there's a movie called Pennington that I haven't seen yet, but it looks pretty interesting, and hopefully one day I'll get around to seeing the movie. And this looks like an interesting little story, and I look forward to reading this. This looks like it's going to be a pretty cool time. So I'm going to check it out. Okay, the next book that I'm going to talk about is a book that I have read before. This is written by Roald Dahl, and this is The Magic Finger. Now, this is a book I've read, and I've enjoyed it, but when it comes to Roald Dahl, he's written a lot of books that are fantastic. Has written Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is a wonderful book. The BFG, that's another wonderful book. James and the Giant Peach, love that book. He also wrote the book Witches, which is incredible. And a lot of other books that he wrote, Matilda. So this guy is a fantastic author, and this is illustrated by Quentin Blake, and I look forward to reading this again. I love having this in my collection. The next book, speaking about Roald Dahl, is The Twits. And I've read this book before, and I really love this book. This was a lot of fun. This is very funny. This is a very funny book, and I highly recommend reading this book. This is a very good time. I really enjoy it, and I hope that if you give this book a shot, you'll love it too, because these characters, Mr. and Mrs. Twits, are really nasty, and they're mean, and they're a lot of fun to read. I really enjoyed this book quite a bit. The Twits. Now, the next book that I'm going to talk about is another book that seems like a comedy. This is the boys' book on how to be the best at everything. And the reason why I think this is going to be a comedy is because some of the things you can learn to do in this book. You can fight off a crocodile, which is very helpful. Rip a phone book in half. I've always wanted to do that. Escapes quicksand. You never know. Speak in code. If you can find somebody to teach the code to, there you go. We've got read your friends' minds, which would be kind of interesting. Make a water clock, which, who knows? You might get stranded on an island and want to know what time it is. And also make a boomerang. You never know when you might need a boomerang. But yeah, this is a pretty funny book. It looks like it's going to be an entertaining read. There's also a version called The Girls' Book on how to be the best at everything. This was written by, they don't have the name of the author on the cover, but Dominique Enright and Guy McDonald. And this was also illustrated by Nicholas Catlow. And it looks pretty cool. And I'm going to check this out. Looks like a book that I could read in a very short period of time. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is a book written by Aaron Blabley. And this is a book called Bad Guys. Now, this is a book that will take me not even an hour to read, because this is more like a comic book. It's not not a book. This is like a kind of like illustrated book. But it looks kind of funny and it looks entertaining, and I want to give it a shot. I like a short book like this if I just finished reading a really long one. Like after reading War and Peace, something like this would be wonderful, Okay, so that's the books that I have. I mean, maybe you'll think these books are cool too. If you like the video, and please do me a favor, hit the like button. I appreciate all the likes that I get. Every time I see people giving me likes on my channel, it goes straight to my heart. I really appreciate it. Please leave me a comment if you want to, and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. And if you can, please subscribe to the channel. I'm constantly working on making my content more enjoyable, and I really try to make this a good time when you come by. And that's about it. I'm Peter the Book Lover. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I hope I will see you in the next video.